All right, everybody. So this is episode 12. Decision day is near. So just a little refresher again. I'm starting with the couples that had the least to talk about to the people who had the most to talk about. So we are starting with Jalen and Josh. So they really had nothing really to talk about. The first scene that we saw of them was them at some bar slash activity thing where I think they were throwing axes, perhaps. I don't know. I really was not paying close attention because it was like a very quick 5 second or less scene of them. And I think that they were hanging out with his friends. And then the only other thing that we saw of them was the fact that they went out on one last date before decision day. Literally, that's about it. So Pat and Rhonda, they we are told in a diary cam from Rhonda that her stepfather had passed away the night before. I believe due to the pneumonia that he had contracted um, in the last episode that we heard about, and I believe she said that he was even put into a coma to help him fight it off, but he was unfortunately, you know, did not live. So condolences to you, Rhonda. I'm so sorry that you had to go through yet another death in the family. And to someone who I can only take a guess as someone you were very close to because they were part of not only as an extension of your mom because they were married to your mom, but they were close to you too because of your relationship with your mom. So I'm very sorry to hear that. I hope you can help get help if you need it to help process, um, or if you feel like you have all the help to process that. I currently in your life, I hope that you've had that chance to get the people in your life to help you process and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm very sorry about that, Rhonda. Um, so the next couple that really has not had that much to do to talk about is Megan and Derek. So they go to um, meet with her parents. Actually, I think they come to her house, and so they sit down, eat, and or they just sit down at first, and then Megan gives her mom a box that contains the two pregnancy tests that she used to determine that she was pregnant, and tell them. And the first thing out of my head was, well, first of all, I should say that her mama thought that Megan was joking. And my first thought was not her dang mama thinking that she was pulling a prank. That tells me that she pulls pranks so much that her own mom can't tell when she's being serious about a damn thing. And that is honestly, to me, kind of sad because how is it that your own mom, does not even believe you when you tell her I'm pregnant? How like that is just the saddest thing I ever heard in my life. One of the saddest things I ever heard because your own mom doesn't believe you, girl. That tells me that you need to lay off those pranks because she doesn't take you serious worth a damn. So this is this is kind of, to me, in my mind, it lends to the fact that what I was saying a few reviews back about how I think her mom and her family just wanted to marry her off because they want to push her off on somebody else because they don't particularly um, want to be around her anymore. And this kind of is like maybe why, because she pulls pranks too much to the point that she like they can't tell when she's being serious and when she's joking. So just like that is terrible, absolutely terrible. Anyways, they then go car shopping to fit the baby. Then they go back to her house, and plan on cleaning, doing some project around the house, like cleaning out the room that was marked for the baby. Um, and after they do some little projects here and there around the house, they sit down to eat, and he is saying that there's more of a reason now to say yes and be together on decision day because of the baby. And I'm sitting here now, slow your roll there, my guy, because you should not stay together with someone simply because you two share a baby. No, that is not how that works. Because at the end of the day, if you two are just not a good fit, and you don't have to even be toxic, just not a good fit, and you're just arguing all the time, like how you were at the beginning, like started from the beginning of the season, that's just not good because it not only deteriorates your relationship between the two of you, but it puts a strain on your child as well. So don't stay together simply for the sake of the child when you two deep down know that at the end of the day you two aren't meant to stay together. Please don't, because that is just not it. Um and it's even more so if you're just straight up toxic and you do toxic stuff to each other, like cheating all the time on one another, um uh, uh verbally calling each other outside of your names, um and even anything just worse, which I won't go into on here right now. But yeah, so it's like no, because children could pick up on like even if you try to hide your arguing from your child, more than likely they tend to hear anyway. So yeah, it's just please do not stay together simply because of the baby. And low key, maybe he's the reason why he's you know um saying they have more even more pressing reason to stay together is because he's hoping that she will acquiesce to having two more kids, and that's just not, no. That's I hope that's not the case. I hope so. I just I'm just getting, flashbacks to the fact that he kept trying to push her into having three kids when, that's, I don't know. Anyways, um, the next couple I wanted to talk about is Brittany and Will. So they go on a boat date, like a date where they, um, eat and what do you call it, charcuterie board. I'm like, that's not what that means. That's not how you say it. It's not charcuterie, it's charcuterie. Like Jesus, over here to make me want to knock off his voluptuous knocking off his shoulders. Like Jesus, like, please stop it. You're literally trying to trigger her into a negative response because at this point, there's no reason for you to say charcuterie. That's not how the fucking word is said, or that's not even the word at all. So, anyways, um, so she asks if their emotional connection has grown, and his dumbass self says he feels like that's a trick question. Please shut up. Please shut up before I come to that screen and throw some hands at you or something, because I'm so tired of you and you're not. I'm so tired. Like, you know that she's not trying to do that, and it's just I don't know. It's because to me it's just they will have the most nice and or tender moments, and he'll just take this huge Donald turd on top of it, like the one from Jurassic Park. And Malcolm says that's a huge pile of ish, and just any tender moment. This will come up later in a few scenes, but yeah, I mean, Jesus. I mean, yeah, Brittany's anxious side has gotten on my last nerve a few times, but at the end of the day, like he's just been this wet blanket and just on one since the wedding day, and I'm just like, at this point, he just say no already. Just say no right now, please, because at this point, this is getting on my nerves. I mean, so she, is trying to figure out what love means to them, and so they explain it. And basically, he feels like it's both an action and a feeling, whereas she just feels like it's a feeling. Um, and so she says to him, "Well, it's starting to seem like maybe I'm like an obligation, like basically, like he's forced to be there and I guess sort of deal with her, rather than wanting to be there." That's maybe what it sounds. That to me is what it sounds like. So, Brittany, you're listening to this, and I got that particular part wrong. Just let me know. But from what I could hear her say, that's what it sounded like. Um, and so as a response, he says, every single time I try to express myself, she dismisses, and discredits it. And I, I don't think that's what she was trying to do either. Just like she said, that's not what she's trying to do. Um, because it does sound very much like you're giving generalities, and you're giving sort of um you're giving um not clear enough answers for her, and that's where she's getting stuck, because she just she just doesn't she doesn't think like you. Not to say that that's a bad thing, it's just that you two think very, very differently. And because I think I'm more like Will than I really probably have ever said, but which is why I'm going against him so hard, because I'm trying to not be as what did Chad say about him at the retreat? He said something about like we give qualifiers. And so because I guess I see myself a lot in Will, and that's why I'm going so hard on him. Like I guess I do that same. I've done the same thing, and so which I need to be more cognizant about and not give so many qualifiers. And that's what I'm saying. It's like you can't just. You have to be able to express it to her in a way that lets her know that what she that she's a priority, and that she's seen and heard, just like Rhonda, just like Rhonda's been saying this entire time. She wants to feel seen and heard, and loved and cared about. That's what Brittany is doing, is trying, and she doesn't feel that from him. And that is what we are seeing is that he really isn't giving her the reassurance the way she likes to be reassured. Um, and so I do understand that and this is kind of jumping a little bit, but when towards the end of the episode, when they are headed, like getting ready to do their decision day, he's expressing that every time he feels like he's expressing himself, it feels dismissive. And that he even said it on a little boat date. And while I don't want to discredit that either, um, you still aren't giving her what she is looking for either, because you're still only coming at it from your own lens and your own mindset and your own thinking. So that is where y'all are missing each other. And that's why she's asking so many questions. And that's the same issue that's been going on with Chad and Belinda, which I'll get to later. That they're just missing each other, and it just seems like he's at this point he's intentionally missing the point, because he's not, like Brittany said in a few episodes back, he's not dumb. He's actually a very smart person, and it just it the constant, you know, well, what do you mean? Like you can't. You're not stupid. You know what she means. Um, you know it's not a charcuterie board. It's a charcuterie board. You know this. There is no way that you have never heard of a charcuterie board. There's no way. You've heard it at least once or twice or a couple of times to the point that you know how to say it. You know this, and you intentionally you're intentionally mispronouncing it, and it. The only thing I can come up with is you're intentionally doing that to elicit a negative response from her, to say to feel justified in saying no, and it's just that's what I'm sort of getting at. So a few days later, when I think it's like either 3 days before decision day, they're sitting on the couch and she's saying, I love you, and he's asking, well, what kind of love? This is what I mean. You know what kind of love she's talking about. You're not dumb. She is saying she's in love with you. When people are in love with somebody, they don't say, oh, I'm in love with you. They say, I love you. That's what they mean. Unless you're talking to a parent or a sibling or a cousin or a family member or a friend, you don't say those are. I mean, or just even a regular person like that you're dating, you never say I'm in love with you. You say I love you. Those are different kinds of love. You know what kind of relationship you're in. You're in a romantic relationship, and she means I'm in love with you. That is what she means. Stop being a dunce cap. You know what the fuck she means. This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly the thing I was just talking about, how he's doing this stuff on purpose to elicit a negative response from her, to feel justified in not saying yes on decision day. Because whether he's highly annoyed by her and her reactions or not, he's doing this on purpose, and I'm honestly tired of it. And anyway, so I'll wait till I get there. But the last couple to talk about is Chad and Belinda, because they took up a lot of the screen time. But so she tells us that after their fight about production. He slept at his house and they haven't seen each other since that fight or discussed anything. So they finally decide to get an expert call or expert visit from Dr. Pia, which is just getting a phone call. And so on the call, um, after explaining the whole situation, Dr. Pia says that there are many moving parts to production and to not try to personalize them as trying to be hurtful or spiteful in regards to Chad in particular. Um, Belinda then also brings up what he said about a wedge being put into Josh and Jalen's relationship, and he says that it isn't true, because um, she talked to at least Jalen and confirmed that it wasn't true. So he says, well, she has in her mind that he isn't telling the truth, and that and he may not have meant to do this because there's intentional and there's not intentional, but I don't. Part of me thinks that he's really um, didn't mean to do this, but he says, when he said that, it felt very much gaslighty, and it felt very icky to me because it's like, and it just can't necessarily decide whether or not that was intentional or it was, um, or it wasn't. I'm sorry. And so I was thinking, you may not have intentionally lied to her, but he did. He did end up lying. In a way, he ended up not telling the truth. So maybe it wasn't necessarily a lie, but it wasn't it wasn't truth either. So, um, and as a result, in Belinda's mind, if he's not giving an accurate account of what is being or what was said in at any given point, who's to say that what he said about things being different when they get to his house after decision day will be correct as well? Which I don't. I can see that logic. I can see that logic, and I don't blame her for it. So Dr. Pia asks for both to be as direct as possible going forward, to which they agree. Dr. Pia asks Belinda if it's worth the risk of choosing to believe Chad, which she says she doesn't know because she feels like she's doing a lot of sacrificing to make him feel comfortable, um, because she wants to have and because of the fact that she wants to have intimacy, he's not really giving it to her. Um, she explains, all he wants to do when he gets home is have a drink, which seems to be a way for him to go to sleep. And she's in the bed with her phone. He then interjects saying that there's a sizable dog in the middle of the bed, which doesn't allow much room for intimacy. And then she counters saying he could tell her he wants to spend time with her, and maybe not in the bed specifically. Um, so Dr. Pia then stops the conversation because it's not going in a very productive manner. So she asks them to both work on it, and Chad says he will. Belinda says she is unsure because she feels like she put herself on the back burner for a while in this relationship, so she doesn't know. After the meeting, after the call with Dr. Pia, she tells the camera that she will probably go back to her own place to give each other a break and some time apart. So a few days later, she gets a call from Chad to come over to his house and talk. So she goes over there and she starts off saying, "I didn't know that that the dog sleeping in the bed was a problem," because she knew that he had complained about Lovey barking a lot, and so he tries to explain that Lovey seems to bark a lot when she isn't there. Um, and so she focuses on the part where he said that whenever he comes into the house by himself or from the garage by himself, the dog is barking. And part of me thinks that perhaps what he was saying is not in just those instances, but perhaps with just in general when she's not there. Um, he's also barking. So because it's one thing when he's barking when someone's coming up to the front door or to any door in either the shared apartment or her house, that he's barking and because he doesn't know who that is. So that's understandable because I've lived in a house where a dog has done that. Um, but I think he was just giving a few examples that we only saw. Hopefully, that's what he means. I'm hoping. So, again, Chad, if you see this and you that's what you meant about the fact that it's not just when you go up to the apartment door or the house door, her house, and he ends up barking, and you mean when you're in the apartment or house with him by yourself, he tends to do that all the time. Please just comment. Just let me know if that's what you mean. And if not, just try to, type it out and explain it as best you can in the comments if you're watching this. Um, he then says he feels like every time he tries to make a point, she is arguing against those points, and that is why uh, um, and she's saying, look, I am, you know, just trying to have a discussion here. But and this is where, like I was saying earlier about how even they are missing each other, is that um, I can see both sides because for him, it feels like you're arguing and not taking his feelings into consideration because it feels like an argument, like you're attacking his points and you're trying to dismiss him, whether that's intentional or not. And then I can see how she's, you know, perhaps if he didn't actually give any other instances of Lovey barking that we did not see, the viewers did not see, that, she's saying, well, those aren't, if those are the only two examples, then that's not barking all the time. So therefore we don't know if he's barking all the time. So I can, see both sides, and what it's just that one's not necessarily listening to the other, um, because uh, in a later scene when Dr. Pia actually comes to visit, they at least Belinda explains further why she was reacting the way she was reacting. Um, um, so the conversation ends where he says they aren't getting anywhere. So she says she's done. That gets up and leaves. So they then meet back at the shared apartment where Dr. Pia comes to visit in person this time. So Belinda explains the situation and that she felt like the conversation was being too controlled. And he says that being outside is, how to relieve stress for him is to, go out and fish or just be outside helps him a lot. And because he hasn't had the time to do all of that, he hasn't been able to necessarily um, he hasn't been able to necessarily to do that, to relieve any of the stress that comes with the production and filming and all that, and the interruption in schedules. So it's just been a lot of added stress to him. Um, so he's wanting someone who will understand him and all that. So Belinda then chimes in and says that she feels like she has been nothing but understanding and trying to make him feel okay. Um, and the reason why she um, hasn't been as expressive is in this whole thing is because she's been feeling a lot, like she's felt she had a lot of conflict in her relationship with her ex-husband, and is tired of it because he used to shout and argue with her all the time. So she's at the point in time where she just wants peace, and any little thing. This is kind of where Dr. Pia comes in, but any little thing that reminds her of that, disruption in peace, um, is a trauma response, and so she hyper focuses on it, and so so Dr. Pia says that they both need to give each other a fair shot because neither one are each other's past relationships. Um, so with that said, I will get into Will and Brittany's decision day. So basically, well, just to kind of throw in a little side note, all the couples are leaving each other's like either the shared space or whatever to go be by themselves for the night before decision day, to kind of think about things and decide if they want to stay together or divorce. But anyway, so Will and Brittany's decision day comes, and basically they do little diary cam messages, and for Will, basically Brittany's all but basically says, yes, it's gonna be a yes for her. And for Will, as he's talking, and you get flashbacks of everything that he feels is being uh, uh, what he like sorry everything, like when we get montages of everything that he is talking about, he then comes back on the screen and says, well, after ruminating on everything, I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to say no. So I um, am calling Brittany and telling her I'm going to be planning on saying no. So then we see Brittany um, we then see Brittany sort of trying to not crash out about this, and and she's talking with I think her name is Nia, who is a makeup artist, um, who and she tells him, Will just called me and told me that he's planning on saying no. And so a producer comes over and starts trying to talk to her, and then that's where it kind of cuts off. Now, this is where I'm going to get into some predictions. I think Will is still planning on saying no, despite Brittany's pleas to stay together, because she basically in the preview she basically is begging him to say yes, essentially. Um, and so I think her answer is going to be yes, but I still think that his answer is going to be no. And if in the off chance that he ends up saying yes, I don't think that they're going to stay together by the reunion, however long that is after they finish filming. Now, um, Chad and Belinda, um, at this point, it could go either way, but I think I'm leaning more towards that they will say yes, but by the reunion, they will have either at the very least separated, if not fully divorced, or started the divorce proceedings. Because I'm not sure how long it'll take here in Texas. So, but yeah, I'm like I said, I'm leaning more towards that they will say yes, but at the very least be separated by decision day, if not fully in the process of a divorce. Now, Jalen and Josh, uh, I think they might say yes. And I'll even go so far as to say they will be together by the reunion. Um, Still, now whether they stay together long term, I don't know. It's contingent on the fact that he does not try to pressure her into always going out of her comfort zone. Because while yes, she said out of her own mouth that she wants to be taken out of her comfort zone, what it sounded like to me is she doesn't want to be taken out of her comfort zone constantly. And that is the problem that we had on the show or on this season, is that she was always constantly being taken out of her comfort zone. And she didn't get any sort of break in between. They did the monkey, like the traversing in Panama, in the forest, and then she jumped out off the catamaran, also in Panama. Um, she went into the pool even though she didn't really want to, after the whole catamaran. Um, Once they got back from the honeymoon and it was a 1 month, they went skydiving. Um, and then he was trying to, say we need to go to the Burning Man, and that's literally at least 7 days in the hot desert, and all that stuff, and you know, and that's all compared to the one thing that he did for her, which was go to a spin class that she, taught. So yeah, so as long as he's not constantly, um, pushing her to do every single thing that he would like to do, and she at least has a time to breathe and do what she likes to do as well in between those times, I think they will be fine. Um, and as long as she doesn't squash down her feelings and you know, um, not speak up about any of that stuff. Now, Pat and Rhonda, I want them to say no, but now whether or not they will, that's a completely different story. Um, I can see him potentially saying yes just so that he can make this work, because in his past marriage, he basically stayed together with his ex-wife simply for the kids. For this, I think the two sons that he said that he had with them, and he he basically didn't end up getting any smecks by the end of it. And so he became, I get what I assume is sexually frustrated. Um, and that's what prompted him to leave, was because of that. Um, and so I can see him, if the desire to say yes simply to work it out against his better judgment overrides him. Um, and so Now with Rhonda, I don't remember if I said this specifically in the last few recaps or not, but I think she specifically might say yes if she can quiz him on the fact that, like, quiz him on the quote unquote trivia, or the details that she spoke about in previous instances about her life. And if she can quiz him and he gets, like, say, a 70% or more, she will say yes, because that would indicate to her that he's listening, and he's listening, and he is going to continue to listen. Now, whether and if he gets, like, say, a 69% or below, then she's gonna say no. So, um, I just don't know for sure if they would say yes regardless of that information. Um, Now, I can say all day long what I want them to do, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do it. So yeah, like I said, I want them to say no, because at this point, they're not that good at communicating with each other. They keep missing each other, like many of the couples on this show, and even in this particular season. So, yeah, um, we'll have to just see. 'Cause I yeah, I don't know if I can confidently say one way or the other. So I think for them, I'm just gonna abstain from saying which one, or the other. So with will Derek and Megan, Derek is just gonna say yes, simply, like, because we already heard, like I said earlier in the recap, he basically said, well, he's gonna be a yes because um they have a reason to say yes, which is the baby. So he's definitely going to be a yes. Um, Now, Megan is giving me a little pause because she sounded like she was going to say no, simply because of the fact that um, she brought up the fact that they don't necessarily need to be together to co parent um, the baby. So, yeah. I think she might actually say no. If she surprises me and says yes, I don't think they will be together long term. Now, whether that means that they won't be together by the reunion, I'm not quite sure. I think there's a high likelihood that she will have said no by the reunion. And we'll just have to see. But I mean, if she, like I said, if she surprises me and actually says yes, they're not going to be together, because but when the cameras go away, they're going to start fighting and fighting and fighting again, because the last since like episode 8 or 9, they were all hunky dory and happy go lucky and all that stuff, and um, so which I don't know if I necessarily buy. I think they just said they made a pact to not fight on camera anymore, so that way they can just ride it out. Um, so, but yeah, I mean, even if she does surprise me and says yes on decision day, I don't believe that they will, but I'm willing to bet that he's gonna say yes. She's gonna say no. So yeah. Um, Let me know what you guys predict for decision day. Um, and for each of the couples down below. And I will come back.